one of the most beautiful things that we find in sport is passion, and passion sort of it filters into other areas of our life, and then you meet somebody who has got passion for food. And of course I love food, and this is authentic Italian food, and we're at the most amazing place, Remo's, and with me Dante Ciccanini, who owns it, runs it, makes the food, does everything here, and has got this amazing excitement here. So Dante, before we start talking about the food, there's so much history and heritage that is associated particularly with this facility, your family, and of course your Italian background. Tell us a little bit about that.
My father was a prisoner of war in the Second World War, and he landed up being a prisoner of war in Port Elizabeth at Bog Farm, where William Moffat is at the moment. And this was one of the first properties he ever acquired, was his workshop, and when we moved on to bigger workshops, we decided that we couldn't waste such a beautiful space and turned it into a restaurant. It came in conjunction with the Scribanti family, as they actually started the franchise, the Remo's franchise. But there's a long history behind how Remo's name came about, because that was my father's name. But I might bore you giving you all the history, but there's a strong tie between the Scribanti family and ourselves, and that's how this happened. My father had a restaurant once upon a time called La Terrazza in Bird Street, so it's definitely in our blood, and food is what we're all about.
I think you talk about the facility and that evolution, but there's something special here. There's a culture here all unto its own. The staff, the welcoming, the facilities, the ambience, and the clientele here are having a great time, and that's because of what you've brought to this party and your knowledge of food. Where does that sort of emanate from?
Well, my family originates from Parma in Italy, where Parmesan cheese and Parma ham comes from, and we come from a very special town called Zibello, which means little beautiful, and the little beautiful part is the food. So if you ever want to go to Italy and really have proper authentic Italian food, I would go to Parma and I would go to Zibello. It's quite famous, and there's two very famous restaurants in the town. There's only 500 people.
So I think when you talk about authenticity, we're very privileged to go and have a look behind me. Some of the amazing hams that you have stock of, the cheeses, and those are things that are not readily available. You've decided to go to the expense of doing it and add this extra zhuzh to what you're doing in your business.
Yeah, I think that's where the warehouse industrial area bring the rent down, put the food price up. That's sort of how we make it work. You know, we couldn't survive with high rentals and high food prices. So it's one of the reasons why we did it, and the authenticity is real. It's supposed to look like old Italy inside here, and it feels like old Italy inside here.
One of the things that I've been to, fortunately been to this restaurant many times, one of the things that I really would like to congratulate you on is the quality and the ability of your staff. So that doesn't just happen. That's a lot of training. They need to buy into what you're talking about. How does that process work for you in terms of creating the staff that you have here?
It's such a personal thing. When we interview, we go by feeling. We don't go by history. You know, everybody makes a mistake in life here and there. So Michelle and I, we're really about feeling. If we like you, we'll employ you. If we have an uneasy feeling, we won't. And the recipe's here. It's working very well. There's a lot of them that can actually sing, which we didn't know either. So we do shows from time to time, and our staff has started to get integrated into our shows. If you watch our social media page, you will see how well they can actually sing. So there's talent out there, and people need jobs and are prepared to work hard. And for me, if you work hard, the fruits will bear for you.
Absolutely. So we've spoken a little bit about the heritage, how it evolved, what the interior is all about. You go and within the facility there's some beautiful paintings, there's motorbikes hanging all over the place. Everything ties back into the Italian heritage.
Yeah. So like that motorbike over there, Michelle's mother rode the exact bike to Priory for the latter part of her high school. So that's why that motorbike is there.
So your family is a big part, and I think for most people the Italian family culture is amazing, and you've been able to continue that here. And again, it sort of comes out in the food. And let's just talk about the food. So you're very very quick to underplay your ability to make food. And making food is not something that is that easy. You just knock it together. Where does that passion come from?
My mother actually wasn't an Italian. My mother was in the pulpit. So that's a long and involved story.
I'm sure.
But either way, she learned from my nonna, and it was just integrated into our lives. And I've integrated it into my children's lives. And it's just the way it is. I'm married to an Afrikaner, race, vlees, and aardappels, so I do 99% of the cooking. But ultimately, a family meal in our house goes on forever and ever and ever. And we spoil ourselves with food, and food is really what makes me happy. So if I had to rethink my business career, it probably would all revolve around food. I was brought into a family business, so I was thrown in the deep end because my father died when I was very young. He was very old. That's a real Italian story as well. But ultimately, everything in our lives has always revolved around food and authentic Italian food, and including my Scottish mother who cooked better Italian than my nonna eventually. So, it's just a passion, it's there.
And then just, every time I've come here, it's always relatively full, lots of people having fun, talking about exactly what you're saying, where people get together, they exchange stories, they enjoy one another's company. That sort of is really very real here. But let's talk about the food, because I think the food is why the people are primarily coming here. You've got some really special things. What is your favorite dish to prepare, and what is your favorite dish to eat?
It's on its way. Somewhere along the line they'll bring it to us.
Yeah.
But it's called the Bistecca Fiorentina. So my favorite city in Italy is Florence, and they are well known for a steak, a T-bone steak called the Bistecca. And I seem to think that I've sort of emulated it, or if not perfected it. Not many Florentines would agree with me, but really that's my favorite dish here. But I'm a meat eater. Michelle, my partner, she'll make you the best ravioli, the best risotto you'll ever eat in your entire life, even though I think I'm coming close to her on it. But ultimately it's a competition between her and I as to who produces the best food between us. And I believe that I'm winning the race at the moment. I'm very lucky she's not here, but I wish she was here tonight. Tonight, unfortunately, is one of the only nights. I don't work as hard as she does, so I'll give her the credit for that. We have a fantastic head chef, her name's Bianca, and Bianca is not a Bianca with an Italian surname, she's a Bianca van Skalkwyk. There is my favorite meal.
That's a big word.
So this is a little paintbrush made from all herbs from my Afrikaans wife's garden.
Yeah.
And you sort of have to do that with it.
Yeah.
So this is where we are not 100% authentic when it comes to Florentine steak, because they prefer just rock salt, but I prefer my herb dressing that goes with it.
I think the little brush adds to the theatre ultimately, which helps you to enjoy the food.
100%, and not only that, they generally just do it with plain olive oil, and we spice it up with a little bit of South African behind it. We are authentic, so you'll probably find a couple of Italians that have an issue with that, but not the more northern Italians. From Florence downwards, you have an issue.
Well, I'm dying to have a go at this, but before we do that, I think Rimo's is well situated in the Port Elizabeth Metropolitan. It's sort of halfway between Humor Golf Club, when you come on golf tour, and the Port Elizabeth Golf Club. And it's almost compulsory to come here, to feel the spirit, to enjoy the evening. There's no rush to go anywhere. There's lots to eat, lots to drink. You're going to have a great time. I promise you.